How to memorize any speech in 5 minutes. You know, all of us are speakers ultimately. Sometimes you speak to 15, 20 people. Sometimes it's a one-to-one presentation. Sometimes it's a bigger group. We all have to do speeches. So how do you memorize a speech? Well, if you saw my last presentation here, we talked about memory techniques. And who was here for that last one? I was curious. Okay, okay. Did any of you test yourselves by any chance, like the next day, and remember the list still? You did? Okay. Do you remember in that room, that moment, like all of us were able to remember 10 or 15 items like this, random items we picked? The technique we use is called mnemonics. And this is how mnemonics work. Many of us have been taught in grade school and high school that we have to use rote memory. You're going to take a test about history. George Washington, did this on 1776. He signed the Declaration and the war started. Remember that. And in our heads, we're like, George Washington, 1776. George Washington, 1778, 6, and we go through rote memory, trying to pound it into our brain. It was Aristotle who actually discovered that our memory doesn't operate on rote memory, repetition. It operates on pictorial memory. We can remember pictures very easily. That's why faces we pick out, like, oh, I've seen you before. Our minds instantly pick out pictures. So in this mnemonic memory class we associated pictures with items and we were able to memorize stuff. But if you need to memorize a speech, you can have all your notes on your hand. And what we're going to do right now is all of you are going to memorize my speech. I have it right here on my hand pictorially, and you're going to do the same. One of my most popular speeches right now is the pumpkin plan. I'm going out to Chicago on Friday to present to about 50 people on how to pumpkin plan their business. And I'm going to go up there, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is the seed, actually the similar diagram to what we just went over, the seed of a business. How do I know the first bullet for my speech is the seed? Because it's on my left hand. My thumb I picture as a seed. It, kind of shaped like a seed. So I want all of us now, because I'm going to prove you can memorize my own speech in 5 minutes. Look at your hand and just visualize that your thumb is a seed. Maybe a pumpkin seed, but it's a seed. So the first bullet in our speech is a seed. The second thing I talk about is the sprout. And what I talk about in my speech is that many businesses focus, as they plant their seeds in business, we focus on all the sprouts. But it's the strongest, healthiest sprouts that really matter to a successful business. And I talk about points about that. So the second part of my speech is the sprout. So look at your finger and look at how that is busting out of the dirt of your hand here, and it happens to be the strongest sprout. Yeah. One person. Is this the sprout? No. Okay. The third part, I talk about the watering process. Most businesses do traditional networking, which is what's called mass watering. We go to a networking event, we stack our pockets with business cards, we walk in like a gunslinger, it's like ding, 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 ding. One person's eating a piece of cake, they're like, good to see you, and you jam a card in their mouth. Mass watering. Colossal pumpkins are grown by a technique called frequent watering. Different than mass watering. Mass watering is a saturation effect. Frequent watering is a dribbling. Keep the plant quenched. So picture your middle finger and kind of bend it like this. It's a watering can. Okay, so can everyone see that in your hand? What was your thumb? Seed. What's this? And this? Can. You got half my speech done. The amazing part about speaking, by the way, the best speakers don't read off a script. They simply go after their bullet points because it becomes a natural flow, a natural conversation. That's how we all kind of talk. So to master a speech, it's really just mastering the bullet points, rehearsing the speech and practicing over and over and filming and critiquing yourself. That's the next part of it. But the main structure of memorizing a speech is memorizing the bullet points. The fourth part of my speech is about the root system. Most businesses, most entrepreneurs focus on what's called the surface level of the plant, if you will, the leaves. And how we focus on the surface level is often through client referrals. Many entrepreneurs go out and say, hey, how was the service I did for you? It was good? Great. Could you refer me to your friends, your family, maybe your husband could use our services, And it's offensive to clients. I just paid you, Mike, and now you're asking for more? The real opportunity for businesses is in the root system, what happens underground. It's the referral network of vendors. So if I know what the other vendors that you work with and you represent the ideal customer for me, if I can meet your other vendors, chances are they're working with other customers like you, and there's a whole lot of opportunity there. It's called the root system. So when I talk about the root system, I look at my finger. Now, since I have a wedding ring on, I picture this big root coming in, and it's pinched real tight by my wedding ring, and it comes back out the other side. But can you see this finger being a root kind of going into your hand and kind of going out? And if you have a wedding ring, it helps because then it's kind of pinched tight with that. The fifth part of my speech is the pruning effect. And I've talked about it to this group before. Every colossal business I've seen, every business that grows explosively has the discipline of cutting off weak customers. It's the necessary way to grow. And when it comes to pumpkin farming, if you want to grow a colossal pumpkin, the most important thing you can do is kill the small pumpkins and remove them so all the nutrients go to the big pumpkin. So I talk about pruning. And I take my pinky and I do this, and as best I can, it's a little bit, but this is those pruning shears. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. I'll go one step further. There's another part of my speech when I wrap up, and it's called, I talk about the all-in bet, how entrepreneurs that are wildly successful make an all-in bet, and then explain of what an all-in bet really is and what it's not, because people think it's high risk. And what I picture at the very end of my speech, I do the 5 points, my hand like this behind poker chips, pushing them in and doing an all-in bet. And I talk about that process. So that was about 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Let's see if you memorized my speech. First thing was?
Seed.
Second?
Sprout.
Yeah. Fourth? Root. Fifth? And last? Amazing. Congratulations. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. You just memorize my speech, all the bullet points, and you could bang through it. And we could rehearse a few times, and you would nail it. Your speech can be memorized instantly, and you can do it all in your hand without any single notes. Thank you. Thank you.